Good evening. You're listening live to Xtreme Movie Show. Xtreme TV is our show for tonight. I'm your host, Rob. I'm broadcasting to you from the Indian Hills studio just west of Orlando, Florida, the Pine Hills Palace. And I got to say, I've got two gentlemen with me tonight that are eager to talk about the last two episodes, 9 and 10 of Dusk, From Dusk Till Dawn. Currently showing on Netflix is Professor Pixel, who's also from the great state of Florida, and RDV, who's from somewhere in the Midwest where there's a bunch of cows whose names will go not disclosed. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Doing good.
I'm glad to hear that, RDV, sir.
I am doing wonderful.
Nice. Look, guys, we've been talking about on Season 1 Sundays where we take a show and discuss the Season 1 episodes of it. We've done Buffy, we've done several other shows, and we'll continue to be doing some more, too, from The Evil Dead that was on Showtime. And now we've got something that debuted on El Rey. And I think one of the interesting themes that the three of us agreed on at the beginning is we were really excited about how The Evil Dead went, and we enjoyed the entire Season 1. I'm feeling the same way about Season 1 so far, or From Dusk Till Dawn, because these last two episodes, 9 and 10, I don't feel like they're bad episodes, but I feel like this is really where the entire Season 1 actually steps away from the movie From Dusk Till Dawn from 1996, Quentin Tarantino, and really kind of steps into its own, as it will, because it's definitely setting up what's happening and what paths we can go down going into Season 2. And I like how some of the things kind of turn out here. So last we talked, we'd had the great big vampire fight in the bar. We had all the main characters and the families getting split up. We had the hero brothers getting tested. We had Sex Machine kind of looking like he's coming to his own. But yet in these last two episodes, we have several a little bit more twists and turns. Now, I wouldn't say gotchas or ahas, but as we said also, too, it seems like things were developing at their own pace, and I think that's the case here, too. So let's go around the horn for our initial thoughts. Mr. Pixel, what would you say about these two episodes?
Well, it's Professor. No, I'm kidding. But I have to say, I like episode 9. I honestly feel like episode 10 is where we falter a bit. I liked elements of it. I feel that the execution just wasn't right to me. It reminded me of in episode 9, whenever we learned that Richie killed his incest's dad. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of a line from 2 or 3 episodes ago. I can't be sure which one, where he says, "I've always felt like I've owed you for pulling me out of that fire." It reminded me how clunky I felt that line was. And I felt like episode 10 had those clunky moments that didn't fit right into place, whereas most of the series did, even with the stuff it added. I do agree with you. I do like how some of the things end up. I do like the positions that we're in. I just wish the execution to get there felt more natural. Also, I have to say, I'm disappointed in Sex Machine.
Well, if you only had your own variant of Sex Machine, we'd all be very happy in a much less angry society. But that being said, let's go to the doctor and see what he prescribes for these two episodes.
Well, I'll second on the Sex Machine. He should have brought out extra load to fire. No, as you see this in throughout these last two episodes, the Ranger gets even more annoying, and then Kate. I actually started to like the Ranger more than Kate. Kate started to get even more stupid.
Well, this is interesting. Seriously, Doctor. So, I know you guys have not been a big fan of Ranger Gonzalez, but I actually like his arc, and they even addressed the fact that he basically gave up his wife and daughter for the most part, but yet at the end of season 10 or episode 10, it looks like he's going to try to go back and save him. So what was it about the Ranger that you started liking more? Was it more because you started liking him, or you started hating her more, or both?
I started hating her more because, especially in episode 10, you see Kate is like, she's like, I don't want to kill you, Daddy, but like, I don't want to turn into a freaking vampire. But I don't want to kill you. I'm selfish. I'm thinking, just kill the guy, man. The guy's been through. You already know that he watched his freaking wife pump her or stomach full of drugs. It's kill herself, and then he's holding this back. Scott is her brother is a vampire. I know, right? Scott.
Sorry.
And then when they get to the thing with the whole they're going through the tunnel and and they get through this open room. There's all these pillars and they're and Jake's Jacob. He's like I saw something. He's like, and they're like, oh, there's nothing there. So let's go through. And he's like, and they get to the side. They see there's vampires in there. They're in the dark. And what's funny is they all go their ways, and then she gets knocked down, and then she immediately after they're all it's quiet and she's left by herself, and she's like, Dad. I'm thinking, you think these things can't hear you, you dumb bitch? it's like this horrible trope. It's like I just saw monsters. I can't see the dark, but I'm gonna start whispering for people's names. You're better off not breathing.
Well, they would censor anyway, so you could make the argument that it doesn't matter that she does it because they all know she's there anyway. Because even before they would even hear her, they could smell her. I mean, to go by that logic. I mean, and secondly, too, and I'm playing devil's advocate against you here, there is that big whole religious exchange where it explains out the entire backstory that we've been seeing in flashbacks about the mom and what really happened and how it was kind of a positive thing for the entire family, all three of them, despite the fact that they all go their own separate ways, literally, that, they were trying to do something that was very positive. So you didn't get a good vibe out of that?
Well, it just hurt. Like I said, if I was in that situation and I would not be whispering for, I'd say usually the person gets attacked first. He's like, hey guys, you there? Hey, where's everybody? Ah! No, yeah. That's, I think, right away. The drunk guy, something to feel, hey, what's going on, guy? Here comes Jason, right in the back with the machete because he's freaking
so you don't like Kate. Okay.
No, not this. But the Ranger actually stepped up a little bit, and he actually, and you see in the end of episode 10, he's like, they're talking, and you see Satanica. She basically tells him, it's like, hey, do you want to live this life, basically, fucking around with this crap, or do you want to go back to your family? You abandoned your family. He even had a vision. So I'm thinking, he actually lit up. He's like, you know what? He did solid by me. And he's, you know what? I'm gonna go my separate way. You go your separate way, and we're good. So but obviously we don't know if that's gonna hold or not, because he's the chosen one. Apparently, because according to the sex machine. But Jake Busey, the sex machine didn't really bother me though this season.
No, it's not that he bothered me. It's that him being a bad guy I didn't like him being a bad guy. It's sex machine. He's supposed to be,
I know. But I was just like, he took the Ranger's knife, was gonna sacrifice her, and so because they had to go out and try to save her, and that, of course, what's his name? Scott finds him and saves the dad, and so he's like, but then he's like, the dad's like, I'm gonna kill you, but I can't, he's like, and then
that was annoying.
I was like, you just it's like, I got my faith back, but I can't kill you because you're my boy. The whole thing, I'm thinking his faith was back, but not as strong as it was. Remember, it was weak. It's like he could basically. It's like he had a moment.
Well, he's grieving and he's going through it. And we don't know exactly what all the backstory is. And for a man of the cloth, it's a big deal. And then, of course, like I said, the argument to be made, it wouldn't be religious of her, or it would be sinful for her to kill. Even out of mercy.
I'll just say this: it was predictable. As soon as Scott ran away from Carlos, he's like, because he said he can't go back to their family. Yeah. I knew Scott was going to try and bite him, and that's what he did.
The thing that's annoying is the logic and, oh, you're young, you can learn to live with this, but I can't. You get bit by one of these things, you turn immortal. You have a lifetime. You have multiple lifetimes to get used to it. Logic is just failing.
Not just that logic. It's the fact that he does not have it to kill another person. He does not. There's a lot of people, when it comes to go to kill someone, they freeze. It didn't even work. That's the thing, though. It's like, do you have a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I have all these guns, or yeah, I could shoot people. I'll kill that guy who comes here. And then when it happens, they freeze.
But you can't say, oh, you're my boy, I'm going to let you live. Oh, I don't want to be a spawn of Satan. Kill me. That's just idiotic.
That's remember. You got to think about it. He misses his wife. And, the whole thing is that he's given up again. But he's like, he felt bad because when Scott said that, it's like, we could be together and all this stuff, or don't kill me. It's like, well, I never was part of the family, and that kind of it they
That
basically
was
break his
Daddy
armor.
didn't love me all over it.
Yeah. Daddy didn't love me. So he's like, oh crap! I know I can't kill him because if I kill him, and then he's like, then I prove him right that I didn't love him. And it's just I don't know. The guy was messed up in the head as was. You're in a freaking pagan temple, but he had a moment. He came to God. And then she's like, "Split," and he's killed him. I was like, okay. I'm thinking.
I actually thought, well, two things about that before switching on. I thought there was two really great things about that scene that you're kind of talking about right when he dies, technically, and it's this one. I think from start to finish, Robert Patrick's performance was fantastic. I really, really liked him in the role. I think he made it his own. It was different than the film. I just enjoyed it, and of course, I don't mind seeing him die off. But that being said, I thought he had the best line of the series, all things considered, when you get the backstory with him and the family, and he's like, I want you to, kill me. And she's like, well, maybe we'll see mom in heaven or something along those lines. And he's like, baby, I don't think she's going to be there, because it's true. And it was such a thoughtful thing, but also kind of ironic, and also kind of like, yeah, I don't think so, but you really need to do this, baby. And it wasn't lovey-dovey. And I was like, that was pretty damn good, I thought. And so, yeah, I think where some of those scenes, you have lines that come out and they're like, wow, that's really good. But then you do have other lines like Scott, basically, Daddy didn't love me, and runs off. And it's like, yeah, I don't know about that.
I actually have to, I do agree that his performance was great. I feel like they did not treat the character towards the end how they should have. Because in the movie, we get a kick-ass pastor who keeps a level head when he's bit. And he's like, here's the situation. We're going to go out there and we're going to kill these. And then if I turn, you're going to kill me. This one isn't like that. He's just like, I don't want to be a spawn of Satan. Please stab me.
Well, let's switch the conversation a little bit to one character that we haven't really mentioned too much of, and she gets plenty of time here in these two episodes, and it seems to the show seems to pivot around a little bit of talk about the higher gods with Santanica. Yeah, what do we think of her as a character in the performance?
We're seeing more of that. We're now, well, I guess you're not at the end of episode 9. Carlos is like, we'll see what happens when they come out of the tunnel, because the guys go in there, basically it's a labyrinth, the mind. And by doing that, to go in there, the gods left their thing to test Richie and Seth. Richie, who is basically now Culebra. He basically, so they basically, what they do as cool is that they actually talk about. Remember, they always talk about the bank job, the one that put Seth away.
Yes.
Well, that's what they're doing. And while they're doing this, I thought it was cool. They're actually like hit in there. We're gonna do the bank job, but the problem is that they've added stuff to it now. Like, this guy wasn't here. Like, well, because it's what your recent memories put together. So I thought that was really cool how they did that. They actually now followed through, not ready to say like, oh yeah, Seth went to jail, and then never touch on this. This is like, no, we're gonna touch on that. We're gonna bring it in there. Everything we say we would do in these episodes, it is gonna be a reference to it again. We're gonna elaborate more on that. Because the reason they go in there was basically to go get her essence. Essence, that will set her free. The only thing that sucks about that is when they finally get her essence, and he opens his mouth and the snake comes out and bites her, and everything's shaking. I'm thinking, like, if I were Seth, I would get out of the temple, because I'm thinking, like, from I saw the movie, the temple's gonna come down, explode. But like I said, like it had a decent ending for the season. It sets it up because it sets up where the one guy, the one forget what his name is in this one. He's like he's not the landlord, but he's the one that's above. It works. He's the one that owns the temple.
Carlos?
Yeah. Not Carlos. Carlos is the boss.
Oh, what's his name?
Nico?
Narciso.
Narciso.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. He showed back up in here. Yep.
Yeah. And him and they basically pull a con in there. They want the bonds.
I have to be honest. I wanted Narciso to die so bad. He annoys me now. But like, just watching him, he's not as good at playing the villain as Carlos is.
I will say this. He's a slimy, lackey villain. That's what he is. He's like, I'm going to take advantage of this. Where Carlos is like, you know what? I fucking hate you, but I'll use you. I'll keep using you.
So you're saying that he's a twirling his mustache villain.
That's what he seems like, doesn't he? He seems like I once upon. He's like, and he's taking like when he's leading Carlos into that cavern, to do the test. And he's like, I may survive. He's like, well, then you might be in there for a long time. And he's a dick. What I like about that, because he's always the guys who think they're in charge until something happens, and they're like, oh, how is this happening? I did not see this coming. I'm like, bro, I saw this 10 episodes coming to you. Carlos is greedy, so he gets stupid. But so I'm thinking these guys are your Lenny Squiggy of the show.
It's hard to with these bad guys to realize it's not just good guys versus bad guys. There's several points. There's the hero brothers, of course, Seth and Richie, and are they good? Are they bad? Because we're kind of rooting for him. One's kind of psycho, but now we know he's really kind of sort of not, and now he has an excuse. And so, do we feel good about the other brother? Then, of course, we see like you said, that he did set the fire, and and I'm like, well, geez, that's pretty friggin' dark. And so it's kind of hard, I think, sometimes to. And I don't know if this is a strength of the show or if this is going to end up being a weakness. I don't know if it's good that you have these shades of gray where you go, well, I was kind of vibing on these two brothers because at least they're brothers and there's a bond. But now you go, no, he really did try to kill his father. And his father's portrayed by an older actor, I forget his name, who's excellent for these 2 episodes.
William Sadler.
Yeah. Yes. Fantastic performance. Really believable. And,
excellent, dude. Party on.
Well, but the thing is you start. What I was getting to with Santanico is do we feel that way about her, where we go, oh, there's a moment where she's saying to the one brother like that, oh, he's really brave, he really does care for you a lot, and he's like, that's not going to work on me, babe, and that's great. It's supposed to be cynical. It doesn't necessarily come across the way to me, but I just go, it's really hard because outside of the D-bag overlord guy, Cisco guy, whatever. Yeah, it's like, okay, who am I rooting for here? And that's one of the harsh things I have. Instead of rooting here in these 2 episodes, I'm almost taking a step back. And outside of the Ranger, who's the one guy that's committed, and I understand giving up his daughter and wife, which seems like he's not doing at the end of the season. It's hard to go, okay, who's got that one singular purpose to them that you can get behind and go, okay, I kind of can put this character in a corner and understand their motivations and can see everything through his eyes. It still feels like to me, though, with these episodes, especially with the bad guys and everything that's going on there, I'm going, yeah, they're trying to almost play both sides here, and I don't know if I really like that.
Well, I'll tell you this: the whole entire series, I've been rooting for the Gecko brothers because everyone else is stupid to me.
I have to say that if we have to choose a character to focus around, I really feel like that Seth is that main character that we just need. That is the only one that truly has that character to him that we support and we push through. The one thing I have to say, though, the end of the movie, we got we have it ending pretty much the same as this. Kate comes up and says, "You want some company?" And in the movie, he says, "I'm a bastard. I'm not a fucking bastard." I guess this Seth is kind of a fucking bastard.
Well, and this one is more to show because his brother's alive, and brother's like, yeah, we did something, but Gecko brothers are backing on, yeah. And then he's like, well, I gotta go away with this woman here, thanks for everything. Kind of this like, chucked him and use him and chucked him. He's like, okay, well, obviously I would be kind of depressed too because my brother, especially if you find out your brother killed your father, and then he's your only family you have left, and. Yeah, where do you go from here now? After he's gonna have some shell shock.
Yeah, no, yeah. I understand him saying, yeah.
So,
yeah,
he's not gonna make like wise decisions, obviously. So Kate, he kind of feels bad for her because you know what, she just lost her whole entire family.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm not saying that. It was mostly to be kind of a joke. But at the same time, I do want to touch upon Seth's father. We get an insight in that in, I believe it's episode 9. Yep. We get insight on that relationship whenever he's having him put together the gun again and over with timing him the entire time. And that relationship is so toxic. That father is such a trash bag that I can't feel. I feel like his death is justified. Honestly, when we're looking from the character's perspective, this man is such a horrible loser that he has ruined his son's lives. So Richie being like, well, I I guess I'm going to end it right here. And pulling Seth out, I can't necessarily blame him, especially given how young he was and watching his brother go through this, really take the abuse.
Yeah, but then when Seth's in the labyrinth of the mind, if you want to call it that, this big, quote unquote test that somehow they ended up in, which I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't even know if I like that plot device, but when he says to his father while he's being tested in there along lines, and his father says to him, he goes, "Hey, look, your brother set me on fire," and he's like, well, "What are you talking about?" No, and he goes, "Look, I may have been in many bad things, but I was never a liar." And he delivers it so well, and he believes him. And of course, that's like a thing. And I go, yeah, he might be the person you have this strong emotional bond with, but he is crazy. And the fact that, he has a woman that sets him free, literally in Satanico, it's like, that's still no reason for, I think, for anybody to want to root for him. So then I look at what character is completely the opposite. And I go, well, right now, outside the Ranger, who seems like just like a holy Avenger, it seems like it's Kate. And Kate, to me, we see basically, except for the one brother, almost everybody kind of turned down the path of something, whether it's good or bad, supernatural or not. And so I just go, well, is she going to have something supernatural about her now, later, or what? Because I felt like she was turning from Miss Innocent to Miss kind of seductive and sexy a little bit, but we don't really get too much of that at all. So I go, well, there's something about her that hopefully, we'll see in season 2 what happens. But yeah, I liked how not everybody turned into something different than what they were presented for. I mean, Satanico pretty much stayed the same. The brothers had their arc. Sex Machine, the professor turned into the Sex Machine, who turned out to be just a bastard that was basically wanting to sacrifice her. And you know what? I liked him being kind of crazy and goofy. I didn't mind that. I know you said you don't like him being turned into a bad guy. I did. I like the fact that almost everybody outside of the brothers end up being people that you can't trust. And I mean, obviously, Kate's pretty much not it, and I don't think you can trust Scott now because he's not human anymore. I mean, but what do you guys think about that?
I want to point out that we found out that the Ranger was to find out who the sexual serial killer was, and it wasn't Richie.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sex Machine.
Mm-hmm. Womp womp, little twister there.
Yeah. Twister in the twister. I'm done for the night. Get ready. No,
I feel like I do have to agree with you, Rob, about around the get-go brothers. You can't really trust anyone. I feel like we have to touch again on Scott, though, because Scott is just somebody who shouldn't be alive.
Well, Scott's
his character has gone from interesting to annoying to insufferable.
I want to point out, when we first met him, he was kind of like, he was like, not arrogant. He was more like, hey, I can do this, Dad. Let me do it. And I was like, no, you can't. He's kind of like that. Even like he was in the movie. He's kind of like that too. Now we see him here. He's like, he's like his dad. He has daddy issues. He has issues. Now he's like completely like I think he's gonna be a little killer. I think he is.
Might be right, because
he's unhinged.
Yeah, I don't think I think he's the embodiment of what we expect out of a male stereotype, and that's not the physical stuff or chase and tail or any of that stuff, but just I want to find my sense of self-worth, and I'm actively trying to do that. He's not necessarily the sitting in the basement video game online 24/7 type person that we always joke about that most people seem to be today. So I have absolutely no problems with him trying to be assertive, even if he's makes mistakes and fail. I actually appreciated about his character. And Doctor, you and I even talked about how a few episodes ago he seemed like he was trying to be a bit tougher, and he seems to be pretty smart, knowledgeable. Yes. So not necessarily bad, but ever since he got turned, he instead of using that to fulfill that, it seems like he did get kind of whiny and pussy, with his family.
I was shocked because I wasn't sure the series was gonna follow, because a lot of times when like somebody the lords, like if a vampire sires someone, that person they cannot disobey their orders, whatever, but he's like Carlos was like, you gotta forgive me, like see you, like boom, gone. I was like he's like, oh my gosh, I was like, he just ran out right away. I was like, that was kind of hilarious when I first watched it. I even watched it again. I was like, it's like Scott is like, he's gone like the wind. He's gonna do what he wants to do, and it's gonna be interesting in season 2. See what they go. Is he gonna his sister? They're gonna have an interaction between him and his sister. Come to terms, because he's now a vampire. Is he? And now he was already a wild child before, and now he's gonna be like he's got all his power. He's like, I'm a man now. I get all the things I could do, and I can see Kate being the same or being the opposite, be like, Scott, this isn't you though. And I can see this more cringe episodes, with them interacting, like it just her being like, but Scott, it's not you. Scott, don't do this. Scott, no, let's go no. And he's like, shut up. I'm gonna do what I want. You can want what you want, but I'm gonna do what I want.
It reminded me of something. I feel like we missed a fight scene here that Richie gets kidnapped at one point, and the whole fight scene that basically leads to that. I did not appreciate the CGI effort they went to. I wish they had kept it rough and tumble like it should have been.
I agree with you. It just, yeah, I mean, these 2 episodes were okay, but I felt like for the most part, to kind of go off the comment you made at the beginning of the stream, that it's more like Coda. It's kind of like, okay, the show's already been decided after about episode 7, 8. Now we're just kind of tying up loose ends. It's like the epilogue, and which I don't mind that actually, because it gives me something to kind of think about before going into season 2. So as far as the entire season, for our final thoughts, I'll go ahead and say that, a lot of the stuff you guys mentioned tonight, I think, while we've argued about what we've liked and didn't like with some of the characters, some of their decisions, the one thing I think that's been very successful with this show so far is the fact that I don't really think of any of the characters that they've had. I've said, oh man, I really hate them. I think I've kind of popped in my own way for a little bit about how good some of them are. I certainly appreciated having Don Johnson in there. I certainly kind of like the Ranger turning into just a Badger or Wolverine or whatever you want to call it, something just bites your leg and doesn't let go. Even though it seems a bit one-note-ish, I almost expect some sort of supernatural or deeper development going into season 2. For some reason, I like the fact that Kate had almost really zero development, but I feel like there's room for it. I like how the professor turned into a sex machine. The point I'm trying to say is there's a lot of characters that I enjoyed watching, at least enough of them about. But I will say this, Santanico, while sexy, beautiful, alluring, just a gorgeous thing to watch on screen and an interesting character, obviously not trustworthy. The one issue I would say I have, even though they're vampires and they look great, and most of the stuff's been very good, and I love the lore, I just kind of don't feel scared or intimidated by any of them. And while the show started off being a bit more action to detective-ish, I'm going, man, I really hope they get their stuff together, because it's like we've always said, most shows, if you're rooting for people or good guys, while we may enjoy drama, there's got to be that bastard. There's got to be that J.R. Ewing. There's got to be that person that you can go, man, he's such an ass and he's so good at it. And right now, while I like Carlos and I respect his delivery, Narciso, or where the hell, jerkhead guy, whatever, I'm going, okay, I don't mind him being the dick, but I don't respect him like in a bad way. Like, okay, he could kick ass. He seems too weaselly. And so I'm looking for there to be a bit more of the heavy from the bad guys for me to appreciate the good guys and what they can do, because I just feel like it's basically, if they weren't vampires, they would just be, Mexican cartel that got away with it. And it's like, okay, I could watch Narcos if I want to get that vibe. But, other than that, I'm just going to say I think it's set up pretty good going into the next season, but I just hope that they make the bad guys or whatever's going to be the bad stuff a little bit more bad. But other than that, and that's a minor quip, I've really enjoyed season 1. I think it's been great. What were you going to say, Doctor?
I was going to say, I actually think it works for them to be more like a Narcos thing, like a Mark cartel, because where they are, with how they live so long, they have this organization. Otherwise, it would just be senseless. You'd just be random. Like, they wouldn't survive as long.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I do agree. What I'm simply saying is I just want there to be some meat behind, their bite. That's all I'm saying. So to me, it sounds like you're saying they're drug dealers that just happen to be vampires and dealing with it. I would agree with that.
I would say not drug dealer. Well, I guess I would say if you're a vampire, the quickest way to make money is through drugs, and then you can use that money to get other things. Because you can't just go and start killing people, because otherwise they draw attention. That's why it was great they had the titty twister there, because these are the people, all the homeless people or other people that just go missing. No one cares.
It's a tax write-off and a wonderful place to launder money if you had any issues.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So like I said, it makes sense for them to have a cartel kind of mafia thing like this, because he'd be like, well, yeah, whatever. You're just mafia, whatever. I'll do what you want. Like, and then the cops are like, oh, they turn the vampires like, oh shit, and like, yeah, it's a thing. It's a perfect cover. So even if they were get caught, by anybody, FBI or stuff, you know what? They still have that the trump card up their sleeves, or up their gums. In this case,
I see what you did there. That had no bite to it whatsoever.
uh,
Any other final thoughts there, Doctor?
I'd say we should do season 2 of this. Obviously, because I know Pixar's going to watch either way.
It has been entertaining. I'll agree with you on that. I would definitely be looking at a season 2 rundown of some of our shows. That's for sure.
Like I said, this definitely needs a season 2 watch for this, because there's a lot of because we're leaving with on this review season 1 with answers that or answers that we don't have, and I guarantee in season 2 you're going to get the answers. So, and I want to compare it. I want to see it because you might like season 2 better than like the first season, or you might like the first season, because the first season to me has always been, and even other people said it, it's the movie. You're not getting the real meat potatoes of the show. You're just getting extended version of the movie.
Right. Well, I don't disagree. I think it's a good point. What about you, Pixel? What are your final thoughts?
I'm going to give the final thoughts for these 2 episodes first as an ending, and then I'm going to go given the full season appeal. I have to say, we've had it's fluctuated a little bit, but mostly strong show. I feel like this ending has really left it weak. I've come through this entire journey, and I don't feel those questions that Venkman just said, honestly. And I am going to try to get to watching season 2, but I have to say it's not with as much excitement, because I feel unsatisfied with how an ending.
And that's why I say you have to watch season 2. If you watch season 1 by this and never watch season 2, you're like, oh crap, what's wrong with me? Why did I watch this? And you finally watch it, because it actually gets a lot better.
Well, I don't regret it. I don't regret watching it because the ending is so unsatisfying. I just wish that it had ended in a point that really tried to draw me in. And there was one thing that did, with Carlos going in the Temple of the Mind, which I know you didn't care for, Rob, but I didn't care for it with the Gecko brothers. But I feel like for Carlos, it's very interesting, because I'm pretty sure he's supposed to go in there and face Santanico, basically. But that would be a season 2 question, and it's the only one I've got, because otherwise it's just I feel like they didn't execute it properly. And
well, I'm
going to just say that this entire season I have enjoyed the ride. I've really enjoyed some of the different takes. There have been moments I haven't enjoyed clearly, but it's a solid show and definitely worth a watch.
Like I said, the first season is a slow burner, and I almost didn't watch the second season. Then I actually, when I watched it, I was like, "Holy crap! Thank God I actually watched the second season." Because I'm saying, even if you do like the first season and you don't watch the second season, you're missing out on so much stuff, so much answers. Yeah, you may not have the questions, but there are stuff that's like, well, my questions are like, what's Seth gonna do now? Is he gonna, is he left with Kate? What's next for them? Obviously, Richie's going off, and they talked about how the 9 Lords. Richie's going to help her take down the 9 Lords. So I want to know more about these 9 Lords. I want to know what's going on, because that guy Narciso is still alive now, and she's free. That's my questions of that. Is like, what's his name? Carlos going into the thing. He may not, you don't know what's in there, because remember, it shows you a memory of your life. You're basically battling the mind of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see when he walked in there? He grabbed the sword. Mm-hmm. That's his sword from when he was a conquistador.
Yes.
That's why I'm so intrigued. But yeah. I do have to say, I have to tap into Rob's point a little earlier, because most of these characters have taken turns in which we are asking, who are we rooting for? And I said Seth, but at the same time, I feel like the ending didn't make me care enough about them to push me towards season 2 because I'm obsessed with trying to complete something. That's why I'm going on. But other than that, I could stop here and I would be okay.
And that's what I don't like is like because I agree with you, and that's what sucks about the first season because some people I did not go back to the second season because they said, you know what, I'd be okay if I don't watch the second season, and they never do. That's what I hate about this ending. You know, I should have left more questions. Like I said, you know, it doesn't really grab you. I felt watching this again because I watched it with the season before. I felt kind of like, you know what, I wasn't excited as when I watched the first season the first time. Watching it again, it's like wow, it didn't really hold up for me as well. There are certain things that I like, you know, but I can see what people are like, you know, man, let's go watch the movie. It's shorter and it's the same thing. You know, this you get it's like having the extended cut.
I disagree with that point kind of because of how many changes they've made to the show already. We've left the movie. We left the movie like 4 episodes ago, but I just feel like they could have added on better. There was a lot of early additions that worked out. Oh, that's cool. I liked this, but it took stumbles as it was going forth. And
well, let's just say this with it, that while I think you guys are making really good points with that, this was the flagship show for El Rey, and while we're just watching it, we don't care what it was at the time or the history behind it. I don't know if that there was definitely going to be a season 2 or if Robert Rodriguez had, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons in a row planned, because this was the show besides martial arts movies that everybody I know said, man, there's a TV show made off of it. It's on this new cable channel. You got to check it out. They got martial arts movies. They got Godzilla movies. They got horror movies. And so it was neat. So it just makes me go, you know, that's the convenient excuse for me to just kind of speculate and say, well, they probably had to cover the movie, you know, introduce a few elements into it that maybe they could flesh out for season 2 if there was going to be one. So I can see where you guys are both saying both things about it. Well, maybe it didn't end too well, but it was interesting because of some stuff, or on a rewatch, maybe it wasn't exciting.
If I remember correctly, this show actually went for 3 seasons?
It did, and they didn't end up having a season 4, I think, because he went to do Alita Battle Angel or some movie at the time. So I think it technically was on hold. I don't think it technically was canceled. They just stopped making it.
It hasn't been officially canceled even. It's still...
Oh, it was canceled a long time ago. This has been off the air for a year.
It's been off the air, but I don't think there's an official cancellation.
Well, all the actors they closed. They tore down the sets. They're showing it. DJ Cortana and all them, they all left. DJ, and for a while, I remember this is when DJ Cortana, the guy plays Seth. Well, this show was going on. All of a sudden, he's in the G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. He even had a failed TV show plot, I think, on ABC.
Well, I would say that I think the show's been a good watch. I think you guys basically agree. I think anybody that hasn't seen it that's listening, definitely worth a watch. Don't expect it to be 100% like the movie. I think it's something that, because of the content involved, they could have very easily just turned this into mush, but they didn't. So this is one of the few shows that I think of that I go, you know what? You know, with Robert Rodriguez being involved, it really was a nice way to go about relaunching or reimaging something. So I think it's above average when it comes to whatever you call for TV. And to me, I think it's quite good. And on a rewatch, I wasn't disappointed. I actually appreciate some stuff about it that wasn't the action scene. So we'll see what happens coming up as far as a season 2. We are going to be looking at a different show next week for season 1 Sundays, and we're going to talk about that next week, and maybe with a surprise announcement during the week. So I'd like to thank you, Professor Pixel, because I guess if we have a doctor, you have to be a professor. I see how this goes. You guys are those high-level, you know, master's, PhD candidate types. So
hey, when you get a PhD, we'll address you as doctor or whatever you want to call it. We call you Dr.
Pilot, higher and deeper. That's all I know it as. I'll stick with my community college expertise. So, yeah, guys, season 1 from Dusk Till Dawn, currently showing on Netflix. Go watch it. See you next Sunday, guys. For Sex Machine, for RDV, for everybody involved here at the Xtreme Movie Show, I'm your host, Rob, saying thank you and good night. As always, stay extreme.